Coming up on today's show.
Leaving the blog alone, because when we work from home, it's so easy to just want to, okay, I'm just going to answer one more email and I'm just going to do this quickly, or I'm just...
I'm fascinated about your blog, and I think a lot of people would love to have a blog. And
your kids need you too. So if you worked outside the home, you would leave it and go home for the day. So I have to, physically leave my home office and shut the door and say, okay, it can wait until tomorrow. And you know what? It's not the end of the world.
How to balance your life and your blog today on Keeping You Organized. Hello and welcome to Keeping You Organized. I know some of you out there have always had a desire to have your own blog, but then life gets in the way. And how do those real serious bloggers do it? How do they balance their life and then the 1,500 or 2,000 words a day that they have to do to keep the blog going? Well, we have one of the most prolific organizing bloggers in the world, actually from Canada. It's Laura Whitman from orgjunkie.com. Laura, how are you doing today?
Hi. Good. I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Sorry, that was a big mouthful of an introduction there. But anyway, I'm fascinated about your blog, and I think a lot of people would love to have a blog. And how long have you been doing this?
This May coming up will be my 9th year. So.
Now, did you do that before Al Gore invented the internet? Because I don't know if the math really quite adds up there. What was blogging like in the good old days, anyway?
It was completely different. I'll tell you that much. Yeah. There wasn't as many bloggers at that time, obviously, and so I found it was just a lot more community orientated, and it wasn't. There was a lot of commenting on blogs, and it was just more interaction, I would guess. And now I think now a lot of it is blogging for business, which I don't have a problem with, but I think it's just changed. And so part of having been blogging for 9 years has been keeping up with those changes, and that's been interesting and time-consuming all at the same time.
Yeah. Now, you do have a background as a professional organizer, so let's kind of go back 9 years, and where were you, and what motivated you to do this anyway?
Well, 9 years ago, I was pregnant with my youngest son, who just had his 9th birthday, and the company I was working for shut down at that time. So I ended up being at home, and organizing has always been a passion of mine. And so I thought, well, why not figure out a way to get paid for it? So I did start helping people in their homes organizing, and then I discovered blogging and saw it as a way to post pictures of what I was organizing, either for myself or for other people. So the before and afters, and people go crazy for before and afters because it's very motivating, very inspiring. And so the more I did that, the more traffic that seemed to come to my site. And I started dabbling with advertisements and that sort of thing. And it wasn't too long. I think my son was maybe 6 months old, and I realized, hey, I might be able to make a living out of this. And the fact that I could do it from home was really a blessing, to be able to stay home with my son and fit blogging around that schedule, because I have 3 kids altogether. So yeah, I just kept going with it, and it's been really an incredible ride.
Now, I would imagine 9 years ago, the technology was a lot. I mean, how did you even learn how to do it? Did you go see a class somewhere, or what, or did you have some computer skills to even get going?
No, none. It was all trial and error, and a lot of late nights. And what I found most helpful, and this might even be helpful for anybody that's considering right now starting a blog, is I did what I could and hired out what I couldn't. So I would hire a designer, for instance, to design my blog, because I mean, while I could have learned that, it would have taken me a lot of time to do, and I could use that time for post writing or something like that. So I did hire out for those kind of technical tasks that were just beyond my scope. So that is something I highly recommend, and I still do that today. Yeah.
Well, I hear a lot of bloggers who start a blog. They, they put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into writing those posts, and they put them out there, and there's no reaction. Were those early days kind of like that, where you weren't getting feedback, or back then were more people just visiting? And I mean, how did you get through that initial phase of like thinking, is anybody looking at this thing?
Well, yeah, that's a great question, because back then I think people were just definitely, there wasn't as much competition. So and I think I might have been one of the original organizing bloggers. So I didn't have to work as hard back then to get traffic to my site, as crazy as that sounds. Whereas now, there's so much competition, and there is, so people's time is very limited, those that are coming around to read. So you have to, grab their attention, and you have to add Pinterest images so people can pin them to their Pinterest boards, and there's a lot of stuff that goes on in the background in order to help drive traffic to my site. So it's definitely a lot more work now than I would say 8 or 9 years ago, but that's what keeps it interesting, I think.
Right. Well, let's, we talked about in the title of this episode is how to balance your life with your blog, and, for aspiring bloggers, but, you're a mother of 3 kids. How do you manage your time and, organize your time? Let's talk about some disciplines. Right. How does your day lay out? I mean, do you schedule time? I mean, let's get some of your secrets on how to actually balance it all.
Right. Well, and I will tell you, this has evolved over time as well, especially when my children were in different stages. So when I first started, my older 2 were in school full time, and my youngest was a baby. And so he napped regularly, which was great. So I did work during his nap time. Now that all my kids are in school full time, it's a little bit different, but I have to be more disciplined now, I find, because when you only have a 2-hour nap time, you really focus in and get it done. And now when I have a whole day, it does take more discipline, I find, because I tend to maybe think I have more time when I really don't. So that is having a schedule is definitely something that helps.
Well, this is kind of like a business, right? So you have to spend time, I'm sure, talking to your advertisers. And how much time do you actually spend creating the content, like writing, and how do you come up with the pictures for your content, that goes along with the post?
Right. So I usually write in the mornings, because that's typically when I do, when I seem to be most creative. So I schedule 3 mornings a week to do writing on my site, and that normally takes me at least one post normally takes about 4 hours. So that includes finding the pictures, like you said. Normally I take my own pictures, because I don't want to run into any copyright infringement or anything. So I do try to use my own pictures whenever possible, and then so then you've got to go in, you've got to add the words to your pictures and that sort of thing to make those pinnable images. And normally my posts require some kind of, if I'm organizing a closet and then taking the pictures of it, I'll do that in the afternoon, and then the specific blog post writing in the morning. So my day is full. That is for sure.
Well, that kind of brings up a thought. You're kind of living your life. It's a business, but you also are getting some of your own projects organized as well, too. Yeah.
It's a win-win situation.
It definitely is. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, I want to talk a little bit more about the editorializing. How do you decide what to do? And do you ever do something and decide, no, I don't want to do it, and you throw it away? So we'll check back in with you in just a moment. We're with Laura Whitman from Org Junkie orgjunkie.com, been blogging in the organizing space for over 9 years, and we'll be back with her in just a moment. Are you looking to get your office organized but don't know where to start? And what can you really do to keep your office organized? Smead has put together a new ebook to help you answer these exact questions. We've compiled the best tips from professional organizers around the country to help you tackle the most common office organizing challenges. Go to smead.com/office organization and get your free copy today. That's smead.com/office organization. The new organization for the office ebook from Smead, keeping you organized. We are back now on Keeping You Organized, talking about how do you balance life and your blog. Now, it's assuming you're a blogger, but, blogging takes time. And, if you have a family and kids, everything takes time. So how do you balance it all? So we've got Laura Whitman from orgjunkie.com talking with us. And before the break, we kind of got a glimpse into her day. She spends at least 4 hours on a post, but sounds like you got to do some picture taking. And let's talk for a moment about your audience, though. What do you know about your blog audience? Do you have a kind of a standard profile of the kinds of people that read your blog?
I do. And I find that the posts that are most popular are the ones that I write for busy moms, and it's really where my heart is as well. I love to help people simplify and create calming, peaceful environments to live in. And I know how difficult it is. I have 3 kids and it is tough. And there's definitely things that I do in my life that help me on a daily basis. And I want to share that with other people. So yes, I do. My blog particularly tends to cater to moms in general, although I do have some male readers, and just to help them, simplify in their day-to-day life, and things like menu planning, which I'm a huge fan of because it does make such a difference. It's changed my world. And so things like that I like to teach. And I always said, even just organizing is a skill you have to learn. It's not something I think I was born with or anything crazy like that. I think anybody can learn to do it. And so that's what I like to teach.
Well, now, let me ask you, how many times a week do you blog? And then how far are you advanced? If the blog post you worked on today, is that going out tomorrow or is it going out a week from now? And what happens when you go on vacation? Do you take vacations? And how do you plan all this stuff?
It comes with me. That's the beauty of blogging.
You don't go on vacation.
You can pretty much do it from anywhere. But one of the best things I ever did, and I started this a couple of years ago, I was writing 5 days a week, and it was getting to be a bit much. And I found as my kids were getting older, it was harder for me to personally blog about things to do with babies, for instance. My youngest, like I said, is now 9. So I brought on some contributors to my site that contribute twice a week, and it's the same people twice a week or each week. So there's some consistency to it, and they have very similar mindsets to myself as well, and same philosophies to organizing. So I find that has now brought in some new content, and I still write 3 days a week, and then I have like I said, my contributors twice a week. So it has eased up my workload a little bit to do some of the behind the scenes stuff that takes up so much time, and then gives my audience a fresh perspective, for instance, on different things pertaining to organizing your home. So
now, do you ever look at like your daily numbers or whatever and say, oh, we just did this menu post right here, and the numbers went through the roof, and kind of figure out, some posts really just take off where others maybe, yeah.
Yes, for sure. And it's it always surprises me, the ones that do well and the ones that don't. So
what do you think your most popular post has been in 9 years?
Oh gosh. I don't know if I could even pick one. There have been certainly the ones where I talk about decluttering and simplifying. Those are, and I've done so many that they all do pretty well. Yeah.
Well, do you ever take and say in January, you'll do, New Year's resolutions and things like you must have some thematic kinds of things you do
Right.
every year, right?
Yeah, and I'll follow that throughout the year. So yes, of course, January is usually my highest traffic month because it's such a big New Year's resolution. So I do like to put out a challenge. My challenge and my post, my sort of yearly theme last year was creating peaceful, organized homes, and I sort of concentrated on that throughout the entire year. So it gave me something to focus on and something that my readers could look forward to throughout the year. I've done organizing challenges in the past. I am not one to create content too far in advance. I know many bloggers do, and I found that didn't really work for me. And I think as a blogger, that's what you have to figure out, what works for you, and it really helps alleviate some of the stress that comes with it, because if you're doing what you love, then you're not bogged down by the
Right.
stuff that you don't. And so I just usually my post goes that I'm writing that morning will be the one that goes out that day. So I
Now,
don't.
do you have like an editorial calendar? Like you hear a lot of people say, "Oh, you
Yeah.
need an editorial calendar." I mean, you at least know a little bit like what you're going to do in the next week or two.
Yeah, I know this doesn't sound very organized, but I don't. I like to, and I find that has worked because I basically whatever I'm organizing in my house, or if I can hit up a friend's house, if I've run out of things to organize in my own house, that's what I like to share. I like to be, just putting it out there, what I'm doing on a weekly basis. So that's what I'm going to share with my readers. I don't typically go too far in advance, and I don't give my contributors specific things to talk about, but it does, like you said, it does definitely go by the time of year.
Oh, wow. Okay, well, how about plans for the future? Have you achieved what you want with your blog, or do you have some lofty goals that do you want? What's next in the next year or two?
Well, I definitely have some goals in mind, and probably, like, particularly one I'm thinking about is I am writing an ebook for not for children, but for moms with children, and how to help them learn the skill of organizing. Because it's one thing for us to learn it, but it's another thing for children to learn it. And I think that it's best taught when they're young. So I am excited to write that book and get that out there for my readers. It's been a little while in the works, so I do hope to get that done soon, because I know that for sure is a hot topic. How to get your kids to help out around the house and chores and all of that stuff. So, and now I have 2 teenagers that do help regularly and do, most of my household chores around here, and they'll be well trained for when they get out there into the real world.
You should write a book about that. You could make $1 million just by teaching your teens how to take care of all your work. But that's another topic for another day. Yeah. Oh, that's great. Well, let's give the reader let's give the viewers and listeners, we're both audio and video here, kind of just a quick tour. If you were to come to orgjunkie.com and you're brand new, how do you get around the site? What should they be looking for when they come there?
Okay. Yes. So depending on what your interest is, I do have a navigational bars across the top that will help you pinpoint and find exactly what you're looking for. I think I've done a pretty good job about keeping the site organized. So if you were coming to look for storage solutions for holiday, you could click on storage solutions and holiday and just find those particular posts. You'll also find, on my sidebar, information about my book. I have written a book called Clutter Rehab that was published a number of years ago, and I also have an organizing junkie app that will help you stay on track. So you can also find that through my sidebar. So I do have some tools and resources and printables and things that I hope will help simplify my readers' lives, and so I do try to keep those things in focus, because I know people have limited time, and I don't want to waste their time trying to find things on my site. So, yeah.
Well, what is your biggest challenge in being a blogger and a mom too. In working with a blog, how, if you could overcome one big hurdle, what would that be?
For me, it's probably just, and I've worked on this for a number of years. It is better now. It's just leaving the blog alone, because when you work from home, it's so easy to just want to, okay, I'm just going to answer one more email, and I'm just going to do this quickly, but your kids need you too. So if you worked outside the home, you would leave it and go home for the day. So I have to, physically leave my home office and shut the door and say, okay, it can wait until tomorrow. And you know what? It's not the end of the world, if you don't get a post up or whatnot. But I think your kids need to see you outside, not just behind a screen all the time, but out and interacting with them. So I try to only work now during their school hours, and not work in the evenings so much. But that has taken a number of years to successfully achieve. Right. But yeah, it's definitely something that is possible. And I would encourage everybody to not let it become your life. Even though it is your job, you Right. still have a family to take care of. So.
And if someone wanted to start a blog, any resources or people or ways that you might point someone and say, hey, you know what, if you wanted to start a blog, I would do this, or any advice for the real beginner?
Well, I definitely think a blog is important, because it shows you the person behind the business. It kind of gives you an inside look, not just in a third-party way, but in a personal way. And sometimes that is the connection that your reader is looking for. So whether you have a business and want to blog on the side, blogging is the business, either way, I do think it's important to have that. And to start, there are a ton of resources online. If you just Google how to start a blog, you will find them. There is a popular site called ProBlogger, and he has tons of resources for beginners on how to start a blog. And I highly recommend it.
Awesome. Well, 9 years in the making. I think this is awesome. Laura Whitman. It's orgjunkie.com, correct?
Yep.
Great.
Yeah,
And
that's correct.
when you get that next ebook out about working with children, I think that'll be another great episode. So we'll have you back again.
Okay.
All right. Great. It's Laura Whitman from orgjunkie.com. Now you have the perfect recipe for having a life and having that blog you always wanted to do. So we'll look for her ebook too coming up again in the future. We'll see you next time on Keeping You Organized. Coming up next time on Keeping You Organized.
I think they start at the top with refuse, reduce, reuse, repurpose, recycle. Okay. And the theory behind that is when you start at the top with refuse, you're actually doing the most good. Okay. And then you work your way down to recycle. But I think people are most familiar with reduce, reuse, recycle. Oh.